Bottom navel piercing. We're going to talk about everything you should know before getting it done. Coming up next on Consultations by a Piercer, episode number 46. For those that are new to the channel, welcome to the Body Piercing and Tattooing channel. Hope you're enjoying the videos. Hope you're finding them useful and entertaining. But you might not know who I am. My name is DaVo. I'm a professional body piercer and have been since 1994. I own and operate the Axiom Body Piercing Studio in Des Moines, Iowa, inside Skin Kitchen Tattoo. So what I'm going to talk about today is the bottom navel piercing. This is a piercing that is through the bottom of the navel, the belly button. Some people have a natural ridge down there. Some people actually have a more pronounced ridge on that side. And in some cases, it might be better to do the bottom than it is the top. Oftentimes, we can do both sides, but it really depends on your anatomy, and we'll get into that. As far as healing, average healing time is roughly 6 months to a year, during which time I'm going to suggest cleaning twice daily using a sterile saline solution. Now, I personally like Neobed's Piercing Aftercare. Comes in a convenient can, comes out in a nice, fun mist. But that may not be available where you're at. So, the things you want to look for. First off, it should be in a steel can, pressurized, not a pump bottle. It should say on there on the front or somewhere that it is sterile. Also, when you flip it over and you look at the ingredients, only things you're going to see there is water and sodium chloride, nothing else. If it says a bunch of chemical names and a bunch of stuff you don't know what it is, lots of gibberish, it's probably preservatives, it's probably not sterile, and it's probably called the healing power of the ocean. Throw it away. That's not what you want. Now, if you have the kind that comes out like a fine mist, just mist the area. Let it stay in contact for 5 minutes, then pat dry. If it comes out like a squirt gun, spraying it on there would be kind of annoying and kind of messy. So what I suggest doing is compresses. Take a sterile piece of gauze sponge. You can get away with using a paper towel if it's clean. Fold it up. Spray the saline on there so it's damp. Lay it against the piercing for roughly about 5 minutes, and then pat dry. That you want to do twice daily, either the misting or the compresses. The other thing you want to do is once a day at the end of your shower, pull your hair, everything out of the way, stick your belly out and let the water flow over the area for about 30 seconds. What we're doing with the saline and the cleaning in the shower, or rinsing in the shower, is we're removing that hardened discharge that collects on the jewelry. You know, the crusties. It's a natural part of the healing process. It's not something that's bad. It's just part of the healing process. The reason why we want to remove it is so that if the jewelry shifts or moves, it won't agitate the piercing and it isn't uncomfortable. If you feel like you have an obsessive amount of discharge or it doesn't seem like it wants to come off, see your piercer. Have them take a look at it and have them clean it for you. There might be something else going on. The biggest thing is don't run to the medicine cabinet, start pulling out everything tipped in cotton or with a sharp point and start digging around in there. You're going to do damage and you're going to cause problems. Cross-contamination prevention, common sense stuff. Wash your hands before you handle it. Try to handle it by the ends whenever possible. The only time you need to have any contact with that piercing is when you're cleaning it or you're checking the tightness of the balls. The rest of the time, leave it alone. We'll talk more about that a little bit later. No oral contact or exchanging of bodily fluids on or around the piercing until it is healed. Keep your environment clean. Clothing, bedding, towels, anything that may come in contact with it on a regular basis should be cleaned and changed often. Do not swim. I know you're going to look all over the internet until somebody says, yeah, you can. Here's the reality of the situation. When you're healing a piercing, it is an open wound. It's at a higher risk at the beginning than it is maybe at the end, but it's still an open wound. When you get in a body of water that's large enough for you to move around in and submerge your whole body, it's going to be full of microorganisms regardless of how many chemicals are put in there and etc. So you are acceptable to infection. So don't swim. Keep pets away from the area. Don't let them sleep in the bed. In fact, don't let them have any access to your bedding. They tend to drag all kinds of things in there and deposit them. Trauma, clothing, and abuse. Avoid wearing clothing as a waistband that's in direct contact with the piercing. Those high-waisted pants, can't wear them, may not even be able to wear them after it heals. Understand the lower navel or the bottom of the navel is going to be even closer to that and kind of rule out even more clothing than the upper would because it's closer to your waist. Do not sleep on the piercing. Make sure you're sleeping on your side or your back. Do not spin, rotate, or move the jewelry. There is no purpose for this, and it's only going to lead to issues. In fact, consider the piercing area a no contact zone. It is the forbidden zone to have no contact. What are the risks involved with this? Well, because it is on the lower side of the navel, it does have a slightly more of a risk of getting caught on clothing, has a slightly more risk of rejecting or migrating depending on your anatomy. Now, with the anatomy, and I'll go into this later, if you have more of a cliff-like kind of ridge, you probably are going to be more successful than someone that has more of like a kind of slope, more like a hill. The other thing is the piercing closing. Losing balls, the jewelry falls out, you don't get the jewelry back in right away, and the piercing closes. Even on a well-healed navel, because it's such a long piercing, it's not uncommon to remove it for a day or so and have problems getting the jewelry back in. Placement and angle. Placement on this, it's directly on the bottom, depending on what style you're getting. Because you can actually do a floating navel on the bottom just like you can on the top if the navel is the correct shape. You can do it more inside the navel and more shallow or closer to the edge, and then do that disc on the bottom and then gem setting on the top. So it looks like it just sits there and there's nothing else, like it's floating. You can do more traditional ones too. The biggest thing is it really depends on your anatomy and what's going to work best. Deeper navels usually do better with a piercing that's a little bit deeper inside the navel, including floating navels or something that's kind of in between the two. Shallow navels do pretty good with more of a piercing that's more traditional and more outside the navel. Have your piercer look at your anatomy, choose the correct jewelry, and give you an idea of whether or not it's a high risk or a low risk. Jewelry, curved barbells, hands down, that's what you want. Not circular jewelry, not rings, etc. Should be internally threaded or threadless. No externally threaded. No rings. Let's talk about the procedure. First off, most people say on a scale of 1 to 10, this is about a 2 on a scale of 1 to 10. They can be done freehand. I prefer to do it with forceps. First thing we're going to do is mark you while you're standing after we've disinfected the area. Then we're going to put you in a reclined position, have you do a breathing exercise where you take a deep breath through your nose, hold it, exhale through your mouth, and then we do the piercing. Jewelry or the forceps are removed with the use of a guide pin. The jewelry is inserted, guide pin's taken off, jewelry tops put on, and you're done. Bob's your uncle. Might notice a little bit of throbbing and aching right afterwards, maybe a little bit of slight bleeding off and on. Usually not too bad, often not even noticeable. Anatomy. Anatomy with this one, like I mentioned earlier, having more of a cliff, or if you pinch down, having more of a ridge is a better option for this particular piercing. If it's more flat or sloped going out of the bottom of your navel, it's more like in a surface-to-surface piercing, so you're at a higher risk of rejection or migration than you would without that. What you should consider before getting it done. First off, you're not going to be able to sleep on this piercing. You're going to have to sleep on your side of your back. And you're not going to be able to wear clothing that has a waistband that's in direct contact with your navel. Plan ahead for that. Get what you need to make sure that you're not going to sleep on your stomach. If it takes a body pillow or an extra pillow between your knees to keep you from doing that, plan ahead. As far as clothing, go hit a thrift store. Buy a bunch of low-rider jeans or low-waisted jeans to ensure that you're not going to have issues with the jewelry coming in contact with your clothing. You're not going to be able to swim. If you're a swimmer or part of your life is spent swimming, or if a certain season you're more likely to be in the water, get it done when you have the off season when you're not doing that. Otherwise, delay it if you need to, but don't do it right before summer if you're going to be going swimming a lot. If you're going on vacation, it's usually best to wait until after you get back. Having a healing piercing while on vacation can be a real pain in the ass. It can be hard to deal with. Plus, on top of that, you cannot control the environment that you're in. I don't care what kind of hotel it is. The reality is you don't really know how clean everything is there. Also, you're usually in a new environment that maybe you've never been in before. Maybe you haven't been exposed to maybe various different fungi, microorganisms, etc., that you have not built up an immunity to, which means you're more prone to infection. The other thing is you can't swim. So do you have a bottom navel? Tell us your experience. Comment below. Till next time, here's hoping you'll be piercing skill of ease without a single issue. And if you're in the Des Moines, Iowa area, I hope to see you for your body piercing needs in the future. Have a good day, everybody. Take care, and we'll see you in the next video.